just as Amalek attacked the Jews in World War II, because this is a bloodline thing. That spirit that rose up in Germany didn't come from nowhere. Germany was steeped in the occult, had turned away from Protestant Christianity, and Hitler built up his base mostly from Munich in southern Germany, Catholic Germany. And they're a different sort of German, and I suspect that many of those in Catholic Bavaria, I'm not saying all of them, but many of them are from Amalek. And many of the Nazis certainly were. And it says in the Bible that a tree is known by its fruit. So, by their fruit you shall know them. Now, the Nazi uniforms are gone, and some of these guys like Werner von Braun became American heroes because he helped build the Saturn V launcher that sent people to the moon, or at least to a Hollywood soundstage with some good backdrops. But he certainly sent them out to outer space. Whether they went to the moon is another story. But the American military-industrial complex and the CIA were filled up with many high-ranking Nazis. And so the Third Reich's plans for world domination jumped ship. Instead of using Germany as the host to feed off and build their empire, they went to a bigger host, America, to build their same world controlling empire. So what is Amalek up to now? Well, because of the sin in the house of Israel, and many of the house of Israel in America and here in Australia and New Zealand and elsewhere, because there's sin in the camp, it allows the enemy a foothold because of our compromises. And what's happening to America is it's slowly turning into a police state. And you'll find Amalek that is involved in the security apparatus and the CIA. I'm not saying everybody that works at the CIA is from Amalek, but I'm saying those in control at the very top are very much, you're going to find Amalek amongst them. And America is being subverted and turning from a Christian nation into an anti-Christian, antichrist nation, though there's many believers there, and we're going to need God's power to bring us up and out of America and out of Australia. And Torah obedience through faith in Yeshua is the way to do that. Now, I've got a picture of a flying saucer there because many people think that those sorts of devices could only come from outer space or from another planet. And there was genuine flying saucer type activity in America just after World War II. And it could be that instead of these things coming from outer space, they were simply devices that were developed by the Nazis. There's a lot in the UFO rumor mill about such things. Sometimes when there's smoke, there's fire. And you'll find Amalek involved with all sorts of high-tech wizardry because he's the first of the nations. So just because we're told that anti-gravity is impossible and we don't have that sort of technology, I wouldn't be at all surprised if such a thing is possible and it's already been developed. In any case, there's nothing hidden that won't be revealed, and we'll know in time. And this other picture is some US Marines, and sadly they're showing their identification with the SS. That's the SS lightning bolt symbology, runic symbology of the Schutzstaffel, the SS or Secret Service of the Nazis. So it's very sad when Americans begin to identify proudly with such wicked people as the Nazis. And this picture here with all the cars going into a type of concentration camp with the all-seeing eye. So America's changing, so is Australia, so is the world, and when Jacob has dropped the ball, Edom and Amalek pick it up. Let's talk a little bit about Ishmael, another one in the Psalm 83 conspiracy, just very briefly. Ishmael means God hears, and Ishmael is a son of the flesh. Ishmael is Abraham's child of the flesh, not the son of promise. Isaac. Ishmael's mother Hagar is Egyptian. Islam denies the Son of God, even as Ishmael mocked God's son Isaac. So there's a very strong correspondence between Muhammad's religion that denies the Son of God and Ishmael that denied God's son Isaac. And Ishmael is described as a wild donkey of a man in Genesis 16:12. And he will be a wild man, and in Hebrew, Adam. He's a donkey of a man, a wild donkey of a man. His hand will be against every man, and every man's hand against him. And he shall dwell in the presence of all his brethren. Another way of saying that is he's going to be in everyone's face. And that's what you find amongst the Muslims. They're very vocal, and they get in your face, especially these days. They are right, though. The West has become decadent, but Islam is not a religion of peace. It's a religion of the sword. And so Ishmael is confederate with Edom. Here we have Muslim Nazis. Up on the top picture, you have, I'm not sure, they may be Iranians. I'm not sure, and Iranians aren't actually Arabs, they're actually Persians. But in any case, Islam, the Muslim Brotherhood, had links with the Nazis, and they had their beginnings with the Nazis in World War II. So, and that's the very people that the CIA and the State Department in America want to run Egypt. They'd rather have Muslim Nazis running Egypt. So, that's a very sad day when they would have Muslim Nazis running Egypt. Thankfully, the Egyptian people pushed out the Muslim Nazis, but I don't know if they'll replace it with anything better. We'll see what happens. And finally, we'll have a look at one last character, and his name is Asher, or Assyria. Not all of Assyria is in Iraq. The modern nation of Iraq, is the nation where Babylon was, and just below Baghdad, 70 kilometers south of Baghdad, is Babylon. But in the north of Iraq is the ancient area of Assyria. But not all of Assyria is in Iraq. Some of the Assyrians have migrated into Europe, even as the lost tribes have. According to Year Davidi of Britam, a website, britam.com or org or something like that, Germany contains elements of Edom, Amalek, and Asher, or Assyria. This would fit the national character of Germany quite well, with Edom more to the north and Amalek more to the south, where Hitler started in Munich. So you'll have more of the hardcore Amalekites in the south of Germany, more of Edom in the north, and amongst them all you may have quite a lot of the Assyrian. Germany really has a culture of hunting, just like the British aristocracy that has that same Edomite tendency to love hunting. And so that's very much in keeping with the traits of some of these nations. Assyria was used to take the lost tribes captive because of the lost tribes' idolatry. And Edom opposes Israel, and Herod was an Edomite. And Amalek attacks Israel, and so all of these nations would get along quite well with each other, or they would fit within each other, and it could be that Germany is a composite made up of some of these bloodlines in particular. So there will be a remnant in Germany that turns to the God of Israel, as there is now. These are most likely to be descended from either Asher or Edom or elsewhere. None will be saved from Amalek. It says many are called but few chosen. It doesn't say all are called to the gospel of repentance. Amalek certainly isn't called because God has sworn to destroy him utterly and not to allow even their animals to live. And that has not been rescinded. And as the Jews came into the land, they got bitten hard by the serpent called Amalek, and the lost tribes are going to be bitten hard too when we are brought forth with fury poured out. And the Philistines, there's one last one to mention in this conspiracy. We have the Palestinians living in what is called the West Bank and in Gaza. But I strongly suspect that the ones in Gaza are actually descended from the ancient Philistines, because there are prophecies yet to be fulfilled concerning Gaza and the Philistines. And in order for those prophecies to be fulfilled, those nations must exist. And many of the Palestinians that are in Gaza, I think you'll find they are actually from Philistia. And it's very interesting, we've got that same area as a separate entity today called the Gaza Strip, as it was in the days of Saul fighting against the Philistines. So the ancient Gaza Strip contains what is left of the Philistines. The Philistines must be there in order for this prophecy and others to be fulfilled. In order to destroy Gaza, and the Philistine nation must still exist. So God is not just been bringing back the lost tribes, but also the ancient enemies are starting to come together as well. But the West Bank there, what is called Judea and Samaria, that's awaiting the further restoration of the kingdom and the return of the lost tribes and the rest of the Jews. And that is going to be cleared of Palestinians for the most part, because that God has promised that to the children of Israel. Praise Yeshua. So, Psalm 83 summary. Psalm 83 is an international conspiracy of bloodline enemies of Israel. It's not been fulfilled as far as I'm aware in the Old Testament times. There have been times when Amalek and Midian have come together, but we have not had Edom, Ishmael, Amalek, Asher, Assyria, Philistia, Philistines, Gebal, and the Ammon and the children of Lot. We haven't had all of those, and Moab. We haven't had those all come together in one last day's conspiracy. But this is a bloodline thing. These are people that are close to Israel by blood, but are not the children of promise. When it is time for the lost tribes and the rest of the Jews to return to the land during the second Exodus, you can be sure that the bloodlines listed in Psalm 83 will be lining up to destroy them. Again, I believe that there's a final fulfillment of Psalm 83 in the time that Obadiah speaks of the destruction of Edom. But there's one coming now as well, a fulfillment of it, an early fulfillment. You'll find Edom where Jacob is, in the Christian lands. Ishmael is amongst the Muslim Arabs. Amalek is in the west, especially Germany and North and South America, because they got into South America through the Roman Catholic church, what they call the Roman Catholic rat lines. They were able to sneak into South America, and they were able to go into North America with a wide open door because the military and the government wanted them for their expertise in their various fields. Because again, Amalek is the first of the nations. He's the head of the nations. He's a clever cookie. Okay, so now we've had a look at Ezekiel 20, Ezekiel 34, Jeremiah 23, and Psalm 83. And we can now have a look at Zephaniah 2 and Ezekiel 37 and Amos 9.